you. You know, this is all about you. And each of us connecting and hearing and receiving the Torah that we need for our lives right now. You know, and that would be my deepest prayer for what we can get from this hour, is that whatever your neshama needs to receive for you to just be your shining, your brightest, most vibrant, shining in aligned self, like may it come through in these words of Torah. I think that's what Torah is. It's the or, right? Torah, ora. It's a light that guides us to our soul's alignment. Torah is a light that guides us to our soul's alignment. And the way that Torah does that, there's a multitude of ways, but I think one of the most powerful ones for me, and what we're going to be swimming in together, is one of the most paradigmatic things that Torah offers us is a deep dive into symbolism, into imagery, into narrative, into soul, the language of the soul. You know, as like a professional spiritual person, which is basically my job description, it's complicated, because what is soul and what is spirituality? And, you know, it's not a science, and it in and of itself, by its nature, you can't put your finger on it. It's the opposite of that which you can put a finger on. It's esoteric. And of course, I believe that the word esoteric in English comes from seter in Hebrew, meaning hidden, because that's the nature of the soul material, is that we don't know what's going on most of the time. There's no way to track it. There's no way to quantify it. And that's the nature of the beast. And it's an extraordinary magical beast. And you just got to figure out how to put the reins on that magical creature and ride it. But it's very hard to, because it defies, you know, clean, clear boxes. The language of the soul, and we learn this in dreams, the languages of the soul is symbolism. It's necessarily associative. It's necessarily not precise. That's how the soul works. So if we want to grow spiritually, you know, if we want to be aligned to our souls, we have to be willing to deep dive into the unknowable, and to not know what we're doing, and to not know where it's going, and to do our best with accumulating all the teachings and the hints. It's a whisper. It's a lover's language of whispering and hints and winks and innuendo. Like it is a concealed revelation. So this is the power of the month of Kislev that we're in right now, that we are harnessing, is the power of the darkness, is the power of the not knowing. And our tradition teaches us, and I know that you guys, it's so cool to be, sharing this with people in Australia, because you are the down under. You're the down under, you know, this is so, talk about the symbolism and of Australia as the place that is down under. You're in your own sort of underbelly realm there. And I don't know what that's like for you, but it's pretty cool. You know, for me, as like a person who like really likes the under layers and getting down to the depths and getting down to the essence of things, like there you guys are, you're down under. And I feel like Australia is able to kind of work on its own wavelength, a little bit separated from the rest of the global craziness. And you guys could teach me more about that. But I get a sense that it must be interesting for you guys to be like in Hanukkah, and it's, you know, and you're wearing a shorts and a tank top, or like, that's a trip. But I think that it's okay, because the truth is Hanukkah doesn't have to be about, you know, being cold and shivering and the darkness around us, because Hanukkah is really about the darkness within us. Hanukkah is really about a portal to the darkness within us. And okay, it's helpful if your weather also jives with that, but you don't need it. So for you guys down in the middle of summer, I want to kind of extend this invitation to all of us, that this is about encountering our own inner depths, our own inner darkness. Because the incredible promise of Kislev is that when we do that courageous journey into the dark, that hero's journey into the dark, it's not just that we find the light. Oh, there's a light hidden there. Actually, the light occurs when we go into the darkness, when we allow ourselves to enter into that hidden realm. then the light is born from that experience of encounter itself. So the image of like, it's dark and you light the one little candle. And I grew up in America, not very religious Jewishly. And my favorite thing was, of course, Christmas lights. God almighty, who can resist the allure of Christmas lights? They're just so fabulous and bright. But I feel like the Jewish imagery about the little bitty candle that is just, you just do one a night and one a little bit more the next night. This gentle accumulation, it's like meditative compared to like the bling of like the lights, which I love. But the promise of the little flickers and the little flames that is Hanukkah is that when we slow things down and we go within, then there's an incredible inner light that emerges. And most of the world doesn't really find that opportunity for the quieting down and the vibrance that comes from darkness. It's a very subtle art to enter the darkness and to find the light that comes from that engagement. But that's what we're doing right now. You know, it's so beautiful that the month of Kislev that we're in now, each month has its own, again, images and symbols that come with it, that come to accompany us and guide us on our way to what the energies that we're supposed to be working, the inner work we're supposed to be doing. So Kislev is really beautiful. According to Kabbalah, every month has, obviously we know that every month has a constellation and, you know, a mazal, and we know that every month also has a letter and a sense and a body part. And, you know, there's each of these layers that are given over in the Kabbalistic tradition are more symbols for us to work with and braid together. So it's really beautiful that the letter of the, well, first of all, the sense of the month of Kislev that we're supposed to be working on is the sense of dreams. You know, so one month you'll have the sense of sight or hearing. And so this month is about dreams, which of course like fits in so beautifully and is the essence of going into the darkness, closing our eyes and enter the darker realm, and the light that we find there. When we go to sleep, we allow ourselves to fall into that darkness, and then we get all of this, the bright cinema of our dreams and the incredible light that comes through in our dream space, if we can but harness it. So dreaming, and we're going to get into that, but also the letter of the month, so beautifully. Anybody know the letter of the month? It's so good. It's a samech. The samech is just, it's this beautiful, elegant, pure circle. And the samech is connected to the word somech, which means, you know, to rely upon. And samech is about a sense of, I'm safe. I can rest assured. That's what we need to go to sleep, right? You can't go to sleep if anybody. I'm a psychotherapist, so one of the first things you ask about when a person comes in is like, how's your sleep going? You know, because when we're feeling unsettled and unsafe, it's very hard to sleep. That's deeply implanted in our animal cells. Like if you're an animal and you're in the forest and you're vulnerable, you don't want to just fall asleep. You know, it takes a sense of being held in the arms of the samech and the arms of the divine in order to go into this deeper, darker realm of sleep. So the letter is samech, and there's a sense of being able to rely upon the divine. What's really cool is that the letter before the samech is a nun, and it's not just, you know, when you look at the ABCs, it's like the A follows, you know, it's before B, and it doesn't really have any reason why it's in that order per se. But in Judaism, of course, everything's going to have a reason and a symbol and a message. The message is of nun samech is that's its own word. And of course, that word is nes. And nes is miracle. Nes is miracle. And of course, we know that Hanukkah is the month of miracles and advertising miracles. So that's another layer of a symbol that we're going to pull in right here and right now to nourish our souls as we're doing this work and feeling our way through. So, okay, so we're talking about darkness, we're talking about dreams, we're talking about miracles. What do all these have to do with each other, and what do they have to do with me and my life right now? So as you're listening, I really want to like, you know, offer this idea that you're not just hearing ideas right now. I'm not giving over to you Torah ideas. Actually, like, I'm just giving you, hopefully, just symbol after symbol after symbol that will be the things that you just piece together in your own psyche to know what it is that you're being called to right now. At every moment, we're called to something new. At every time, at every holiday, for sure, we're called to a new inner avoda, an inner service of discovery of ourself and who we're supposed to be in the world, and the reason why our soul is here in this world. Because why are we here? Why are we here? You know, we have each of us, we have a reason for being here, and the Jewish dream is that we will be all, each of us, deeply aligned to that highest reason why our soul decided to come into this world as this person at this time with these parents. And all of it is because you and me, we all have our unique service to do in the world. How do we figure out what that is? We sniff our way through. Oh, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? You know, where did I go to college? And then what are all these symbols? And how can I bring them together to build my life forward to do the service that my soul is here to do in this world? So as you're listening to me, I don't know what these mean to you, but I'm going to throw them out to you, and just, I trust that you will bring what you need to kind of make your own sharsheret, your own necklace of gems around it that will guide you into who you're supposed to be living into right now. So we have nes, we have miracle. Oh, what's so cool about nes is that the nun, if you look at that's the final nun, right? It's that letter that goes the deepest of all the letters. The final nun goes all the way down. Nun is understood, there's this word nofel, which means to fall. There's an idea of a nun nofelet. Oftentimes in the Hebrew language, the nun will just disappear from words. Like it will fall out of words. It's called the fallen nun. And it's an archetype. It's one of these symbolic archetypes within our tradition to learn from. Oh, what is the fallen nun in me? It's an archetype for us to work with. So the nun is about the ability to fall. If you guys know the Ashrei, you know, Ashrei Yoshvei Betecha, that really fun prayer. So the Ashrei goes according to the letters of the alphabet, Aleph, Bet, but the only letter that's missing in that build-up, in that lineup, the only letter that's missing is the nun. There's no verse in the Ashrei for the letter nun. What there is, though, is the verse of Samech, Somech Noflim, right? So the verse around the Samech is talking about the Somech, how God is a Somech of the Noflim. God supports the fallen. Wow, and it's this little hint that's just kind of peppered in to this prayer that we say 3 times a day. And the deep teaching there is that when we are willing to nofel, to fall, then somech, then we are supported. There's a unique divine support system available only to those who are willing to fall. Only when we're willing and able, and sometimes life just comes and pushes us into it without our willingness, but when that happens and we fall down and we go deep and we hit the darkness and we hit a pandemic, and when that happens, a whole new beautiful opportunity of supportedness from the divine emerges, and a light is born from the engagement with the darkness. And I love these Torahs because as a therapist and as a human being, we all suffer. It's just so very unavoidable, and it shouldn't be avoided. You know, I think so often in our world, we want to avoid suffering, and we're all afraid of the dark. Who wants the dark? You know, like, I don't want bad things, and we don't. True. But if they happen, and when they happen, to be able to embrace those is such a gift. It's such a gift, because the divine wants to support us, and sometimes the best way for the divine to figure out how to do that is to hit us and take us down. Better than divine needing to step in and take us down and send a pandemic or whatever, better that we ourselves should courageously step up and say, I'm willing to look into my dark material. So I don't need the divine, or my life circumstances to come and hit me on the head and force me to do it. I mean, that's the basic psychological formula that is unavoidable, is if we don't look at the dark, then something will inevitably happen in our world and in our lives to make us look at it. Because the goods that come from going through the darkness are so much better than the goods of not. There's that beautiful teaching, you guys have probably heard it, that on the sixth day of creation, when God makes humans, all the other days of creation, God steps back, a lot of the days he looks back and he says, God sees what he created and it was good, tov, great. But then the day that God makes humankind, God steps back and says, it's tov ma'od, very good, very good. And the commentators rush in and they're like, what's very good here about this day? And they say that it's the creation of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer, the desire for bad. The creation of the darkness in us is created that day. And that's understood to be not just good, but very good. Whoa. If we can approach the darknesses and the pains and the challenges of our lives and experience this and step back and say, oh, this is very good. Wow, what a way to live. And I'm sure as I'm saying it, you probably have had your own moments when you've tasted that, that moment where even though it's hard, wow, I feel like I'm growing. Oh, wow, I feel like I have a deeper connection to my kids, or, you know what I'm talking about? You can raise your hand if like you've ever had that moment of like, it's hard, but there's something very good about this. And anybody who's, done inner work, like it can feel hard, but there's like a reward that comes out on the other side. So how do we do this? So how do we do this engagement with the darkness? There's a great story about a man who has lost his keys and he's like frantically searching around, in the grass and next to the street and under the street lamp, and he's searching and searching, and finally his friend comes out and he's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I've lost my keys and I'm like frantic for them. Okay, let me help you. And they start searching together and they search for hours, and finally the friend's like, oh my God, like, let's maybe just sit a second. Let's go back. Where were you the last time you saw the keys? Where do you think they might be? And the guy who lost them's like, oh yeah, I was over there in that dark field when I lost them. And his friend's like, wait a second. If you were in the dark field when you lost them, then why are we sitting here, under the street lamp looking? Why aren't we in the dark field? And the guy's like, oh man, it's too dark over there. I don't want to go over there. It's too dark. Right? We're so afraid of the dark. We're like, no, thanks. I don't want to go over there. But meanwhile, we're spending all of our time searching for these keys in the light, and they're not happening. I'm not getting the deeply meaningful life I'm really wanting. I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not really giving me the deep satisfaction I know that I could be getting from life. Well, usually that's because the keys are in the dark. And I'm not going to get what I'm deeply wanting unless I'm willing to go look at the dark. There's another great story I'll share. Reb Elimelech and Zusha, it's the 1700s. They're like running around Poland, right? You guys know them. And they go and they're in a town and they're trying to teach Torah to Jews in Poland in the 1700s, and they get thrown in jail for teaching Torah. Okay, so they're in this jail cell with all these like Polish thugs and thieves, and it's these two Hasidim in the corner, and Zusha starts to cry. And his brother turns to him, he's like, oh, why are you crying? I mean, other than the obvious, we're in jail, but why are you crying? And Zusha says, oh my God, because it's mincha time, and I really want to pray to God, but there's this pot that everybody uses in the middle, it's in the smack dab in the middle of their jail cell is the pail. The toilet. And it's like, we know that we're not allowed to pray, to praise God in a place where there's something smelly. So I can't pray, and I'm crying because I want to connect with God, but I can't connect with God in the way I want. And Elimelech says, wow, but you know what? The truth is that God has also told us that we're not supposed to pray in a place where there's something smelly. So by you not praying because of the pail, you're actually doing what God told you to do, and you are connecting with God. And Zusha is blown away by this chiddush, and he says, oh my God, that blew my mind. Yes, I am serving God and connecting to God by not praying right now. And they both jump up with like a fire in their hearts, and they start dancing and singing, and they're dancing around the pail, singing about the wonderful pail in the middle of the, and it's such a fire that they ignite that the other guys in the jail cell are joined in with them, and they're holding hands, and all the thugs, the Polish thugs, and they're, you know, dancing around in a circle with great glee, which is totally annoying to the warden, who steps in and is like, what the heck is going on in my prison cell? No, what is this? This is crazy. And one of the guys is like, I don't know. All I know is that these guys are all excited about the toilet pail in the middle of the cell. That's all I know. And so the warden, of course, steps in, and he takes the pail, and he says, I'll show you. And he takes the pail out and throws it out. And of course, Zusha and Elimelech are like, Yalla, Mencha, let's pray. Right? Oh, such a good story. Such a good story, right? Because that's it, you know? We so often have this idea in our head of like what the best thing that I could possibly be doing right now is, and it rarely includes stinky pails. You know, it rarely includes not being able to go out with my friends. I don't know. I think in Australia you guys are doing pretty well with the pandemic, but for us here, Hanukkah means lockdown. We're not going to be getting together and doing big parties. And we're like, wait, I'm supposed to be having these incredible. And there's a lot of people that are like, no, I'm still going to go and pray at the shul or whatever, because that's their idea of what they need to be doing in order to connect with the divine. But actually, sometimes you need to not do that thing in order to connect with the divine, right? Sometimes you need to be able to hold the absence and know that in that absence or in that darkness is even a greater opportunity for connection if you can just surrender to it and listen to it and appreciate and feel your way in to this unknown territory of, oh wait, I've never connected to God by being happy that I'm not praying. Wow, a new path is being paved to connect to the divine, to connect to my inner divine. And so it's not our first go-to going into the darkness, but it sure is powerful, sure is effective. So, and I could just tell us so many beautiful Torahs about the importance of it, but I want to transition over to dreams, because that is the sense of the month that we're supposed to be working with. So how do we do this work of connecting to the dark? How do we do this work of connecting to our souls? How do we learn the language of our soul when it's a foreign tongue and to our embodied selves? But we need to learn the language of the soul. And one of the best ways to learn that language is by paying attention to our dreams. It's the highway to the divine. It's the highway to understanding our soul is our dreams. And again, it's dark. It's not so clear. Our dreams do not come and state, in totally articulate terms, what you need to be doing right now to align with your soul. Here it is, and here's the bullet points. No, it's not the way that dreams work. The dreams work with emotion and imagery, and it's its own language. So I don't know, how much you remember your dreams or how much you've worked with your dreams, but so often they are the place where we're given information. And part of the work of working with your dreams is just to listen, first and foremost. Is just to take the time. Usually, I can say that and you'll be like, but I don't remember, I don't remember. And how am I supposed to listen, or how am I supposed to, if I can't even remember them? So I want to just a little quick hint and a tip is just have a journal by your bed. Maybe it's just for the rest of this month of Kislev, this month of dreaming, but have a journal or have a phone that you can then record yourself first thing in the morning. 90% of dreams are lost within 5 minutes of waking up. You have to do it immediately. And because that's the only way to catch them, because it's very ephemeral. But if you do it immediately and you commit to doing a little bit of a practice with it, it's like speaking directly to your unconscious self and saying, I care about you. I want a relationship with you. I want to know the language of my soul, and I'm willing to put a journal by my bed to show you that I want to connect with you. It's like giving flowers to your soul to let it know that you really want to connect and have a relationship. It's about developing and nurturing, investing in a relationship with your soul via your dreams. And the minute you do it, I'm sure just by you sitting there on the other side of this, magic rectangle and hearing what I'm saying, it's already happening. That's the incredible thing about the unconscious. You're unconscious right now. You can imagine maybe it's like a little kid sitting on your lap, your unconscious self. And you think that the little kid's not really keyed in on what's going on, what the adult talk up here, but your unconscious right now is listening. And it's saying, oh, wait, they're talking about me. And it gets a little excited. They're like, oh, wow. And it opens up just by talking about this. So my guess, and I've done this with a lot of people where I'll mention something dream oriented, or that, oh, you could do this in your dream. And immediately they'll get back to me the next day and be like, oh, and I had this. It's the unconscious our conscious self is like, I don't remember the math. I'm not good with math, but there are statistics out there. We should just Google it. The power of our conscious self in terms of like brain power is 5%. And then there's a massive whopping 95% that is the power of our unconscious. It's like an oceanic, humongous part of us that we are only the tip of the iceberg, according to psychology and the best of human understanding. Our conscious self is just the tip of the iceberg. The unconscious self is enormous and majestic, and and so this is the time to be meeting and to try to find our ways in. And there's much more to be said about how to work with dreams. I'm kind of like wanting to open it up. Does anybody have any questions or anything that you want to say at this point on our journey together?
Also, feel free to type in the chat box below if you'd prefer to do it that way as well.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything. I'll just keep on. I'll just keep on going because there's a lot of places I want to get to. But I'm feeling here with you, and this is about you, and your growth, and your, and your soul. So anything that comes up along the way, or any questions that come up for you, or something to share, I'm very open to hearing. Okay. What's coming to me right now, Noam, is when I guess it was your first child's bris. How old is your oldest?
Yeah, he's now, he's turning 12 next week.
Yeah, okay. So I was at his bris.
Hanukkah.
Oh, really? It was at Hanukkah?
It is.
Oh my God. Hi, cutie. Oh, amazing. Mazal tov. Wow, good to see you. I was at your bris. And Reb Noam shared a beautiful Torah that has stayed with me and informed my life and changed my life. And it's the Torah of the diminishment of the moon. Do you remember this? You gave over about the Torah of the diminishment of the moon. And maybe you guys have heard him talk about this, probably so. And if not, then demand that he go over it in detail with you at the next possible opportunity, because it's a Torah that is so essential. And it talks about how when God created, the Torah says God created the two great luminaries in the sky, the sun and the moon. And in the very next sentence, then the language changes and it refers to the great luminary, the sun. And the commentators jump in and wait, what's up with that? What happened? It used a second ago, however many letters ago, it was two great luminaries. Why is there now only one great luminary? And the story that then comes spilling out, very narrative, dreamlike. It's again, the commentators get so dreamy with their commentaries. The story that comes through is the story that when God created the two kings, the moon was like, wait a second, how can two kings wear one crown? The moon asked God, and God's like, you're right. You make yourself small. I'm going to give the crown to the sun. And the moon was like, whoa, wait a second, I was just helping out. It doesn't mean you make me into the small one. Well, you're forcing me into diminishment. And then the story goes on so beautifully to talk about all the ways in which God was like, no, it's okay to be small. These great rabbis were referred to as small. And, you're you'll rule the night. And all the ways that God tries to kind of make the moon feel better about it. The moon's like, no, thank you. And the moon's like, well, what good is a candle in the middle of the day? It's like, what good is my light when it's so like vastly outshined by the sun? And in the end, God finally fesses up and he's like, you're right. I'm sorry. And so it should be that the Jewish people will bring sin offering for me every Rosh Chodesh. That's like the end of the midrash on it. And so in the end, it's almost like God saying, wow, yeah, I messed up. I shouldn't have diminished you. So there's a couple of, narratives going on here. One is that this is a symbol for the diminishment of the feminine, and the moon represents the feminine, and the masculine is represented by the sun. And the diminishment of the feminine, which we all know from history, the feminist movement is a deeply embedded Jewish idea, because our sources talk about how the feminine is diminished and then brought in, and then will eventually be raised up to equal stature and more. So we have deep teachings in the Torah about that. But the reason why I'm bringing it up now, and it's coming to me so strongly, is because the moon is forced into the darkness. Didn't really willingly go, it was like, no. And that's the way we feel. We get forced into the darkness. But there's so much good that comes from that process. And God and the divine knows that. And so that's why the divine set it all into place with good reason. There's, the wisdom, if you look at what, the feminine has been through, and like the humility, the gifts of the darkness are things like humility. There's a deeper wisdom, the ability to not have to be the one shining all the time, the ability to take things slower, to be more internal. There's great gifts that come from being the moon and to entering moon consciousness. There's a deeper wisdom that comes from being that little Hanukkah light versus all the Christmas bling. There's something subtle and very important that we can't lose sight of in our bright lives, in our lives that are ruled by the sun. Equally important is our moon consciousness. And so, when we sleep, we don't identify that as ourself. Like when you think of your identity right now, generally we think of like all the things I'm doing, all the things, that like all the things I'm doing out there in the world. We very rarely identify ourselves with our moon self, with our inner workings. They're so quiet. It's hard to carve out a sense of identity based on, my deep, shadow drives and urges. But it's half, we spend hopefully 8 hours of every day in that consciousness and in that self. And it's not just a waste. It's the work that happens there is immensely important for who we are in the world. And the more that we can integrate in those aspects of ourself into our identity, we become fuller. We become fuller beings from it. There's a fullness that comes. There's an integration that comes when we bring in those sides. So let's maybe right now, I want to go inside a little bit, speaking of going inside. And so if it's okay, I want to invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. So the closing of the eyes is such an obvious and beautiful expression of a willingness to engage with the darkness, an openness to engaging with the darkness, just by closing our eyes. And as you close down your vision, really inviting in inner vision. And this is the realm of the imagination. When we bring our focus away from the visual stimulus of reality, then we can anchor into all the enormity of our imagination, things that we can imagine that maybe aren't real tangibles in the world, but they're again, these magical creatures of our imagination. So breathing is another really great way to enter into the darkness and enter into that inner terrain of our souls, is our breath. Because we know that nishima in Hebrew is breath, and it's also neshama, which is soul. So in our endeavor to become more integrated spiritually, the best first step is always to breathe. So just bringing in your breath really deep and slow through your nose and out your nose. Letting your body relax. Because a relaxed body is really a relaxed reality. Our reality becomes more malleable when we relax our body and we bring our attention to our breath. And an openness to being in a little bit of silence. And if any thoughts come into your mind, you can just bring your focus back to your breathing and the sound of my voice. And with every breath, you're just relaxing more. Your body feels more and more relaxed with every breath. And it's very easy to relax. And it's very inviting to be in this darkness of closed eyes. Start to feel any ways in which it feels really good and inviting to connect to your inner self. And I want to invite you to actually allow yourself to think of something that maybe is dark for you. And to not be afraid of it. Maybe it's something, a loss that you've had or a pain that you hold that you don't give a lot of attention to, and you don't need to. But for right now, letting your mind hold that emotion, that image, that memory. And holding it with curiosity. And just noticing the sensation that comes when you think about this hard thing. It's like meditatively watching as you hold it. Maybe your body reacts. Maybe you pull away. Just noticing whatever comes with openness, curiosity. And imagine that your consciousness right now that's thinking about this hard thing, that just the very act of thinking about it is a light. It's a light that you're shining on this dark phenomena, experience. The light of your consciousness. The light of your curiosity, the light of your care. And as you're paying very deep attention now to this hard thing, imagine that you can talk to it. Imagine it's like a creature, or a person, or an object. What is the object or thing or person? Or see if any symbol emerges for you. Imagine you're in a dream and you're dreaming about this thing, but it comes through as a symbol. Maybe there's a lot of symbols that come. Try to choose one. If nothing comes naturally, go ahead and decide to choose one and pick one. Any one you pick is perfect. Choose a symbol for this dark thing. And now imagine that this symbol, this is our imagination. Imagine it has a mouth. on it that can speak to you and can communicate with you. Because it has something it really wants to tell you, something it really wants you to know. And it's so happy that you're listening right now. It's just been waiting and waiting and waiting for you to look at it and listen to it. Maybe it has a message, maybe it has a request. Just being open to whatever it has to say. And then responding to it. How do you respond back? What comes to you as your response? It's a dialogue. It's a relationship. How do you relate? With care? With love? Yeah. And now just expressing gratitude to this symbol for sharing, expressing appreciation. And if there's a gift that it wants to give you, then it can give you a gift. You can ask for a gift, in fact, from it. And see if it gives you a gift. Maybe it gives you a blessing. Maybe it gives you a gem. Maybe it gives you a piece of wisdom. And just kind of taking that little treasure back with you now. You can put it in your pocket. Imagine you're putting it in your pocket. As you come back up towards the surface here. And feel into your body again and bring your attention back to your breath again. And then when you're ready, you can keep your eyes closed or you can open them. So thank you for going in. And it's not always so comfortable. And maybe you didn't get anything, or maybe you didn't get what you want, but it's just part of the process of doing it and allowing yourself to experiment with it is already part of the Hanukkah miracle. Right? Miracle is the thing where the divine, what's a miracle? There's all of the mundane things that happen, and then there's like a miracle is when the divine suddenly just breaks through the ceiling and comes deeply into our mundane reality and enlightens it. So just welcoming that into your life with, a hope that somehow going inside, somehow touching on these darker places will bring some miraculous influx into your life this Hanukkah. I really would love to hear if anybody wants to ask a question or share something that came up for you, or what gift did you get? If anybody wants to just say what a gift that you maybe received. Would love to hear anything. No pressure, you don't have to. It's fine if you don't. But I want to give you an opportunity to share, because when we do share and put it in words and articulate it, then it becomes even more to the surface. It's another one of those techniques. Yes.
When you write down the dreams, like often they're just kind of, there's more of an emotion rather, or just one sort of an image. How do you make sense of that? Or, yeah, I mean, that's not an on one foot question, I know, but yeah.
I think that's the question, is what do we do with these things that we don't know what they are? They're so hard to make sense of. And that's, I think the first step is what we're talking about right now, which is just being willing to be baffled and still engage with the dark curiosity and not knowing. That's the first step of knowing, is to engage with it and to be confused and then to wonder, okay, what might that symbolize? You know, I had a dream this morning and it was all about my daughter not having her shoe. And then I was taking a shoe and I was cleaning the windows of the car with it. It's like, what does that mean? You know? And okay, let me think. What do I know about shoes? What do shoes represent in my life? Oh, well, it's the place that it allows me to move forward. That my daughter's maybe missing something that's really she needs in order to move forward right now. So first of all, it's asking yourself, you know, based on what's going on in my life right now, what could this symbolize about something I'm dealing with? It's like being English literature majors, you know, it's like you have to get into the symbology and say, what does this represent? Associative thinking, like cyber associative thinking. So starting there, you know, what does that image represent for you in your personal life? And just asking yourself, it's just so often, the minute we just turn our attention to something and bring the light of our consciousness to this dark unknown thing, usually something will just pop into your mind. That's all it is. It's like letting your imaginative faculty be open and expressive. It's like a certain, you know, gymnastics, imaginative gymnastics. But just know, I think the most important thing is just know that you might not understand, and that's okay. And then what do you understand? And then building bit by bit, fiber by fiber from that into, and then once you get really into the dream stuff, you know, I have basically a dictionary of what my personal symbols are. And then you can look at like, what are archetypal meanings of what this symbolizes? Jewish, there's all sorts of Jewish meanings for different things. Even more important, I think, than the archetypal symbols that you can Google is, what does it represent for me personally? And then the more you build up, it's about building a relationship. So the more you just turn your attention to it, think about it, that's each of those moments is a deposit in the bank account of that developed relationship. And the more you deposit there, the more interest you get, and the more you're able to understand. Thank you for your question, Annie.
You know, there's a famous idea relating to the interpretation of dreams. It comes up at this week's parsha, but the following week with Paro in Parshat Miketz, and the interpretation of dreams, that, and the Gemara says that the reality follows the interpretation, right? The dream follows the interpretation. It's how we interpret a dream that actually dictates the meaning of it. And so two people can have the same dream, if you will, which would be impossible, but then it's how they interpret it would determine what it actually means. And I'm wondering if what your thoughts are on that, but also, is there a potential danger in misunderstanding and putting too much meaning in symbolism and saying, oh, this is what it means, and therefore the following thing, and how do we find a really genuine, truthful, and safe, I would say also, and psychologically safe approach to understanding and interpreting dreams?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I would say in terms of like a guide for how to do it is that we definitely learn in Judaism is I
think we seem to have lost her. Are you guys still with me? You're still with me. Okay, she's gone off into the ether. All right. Let's take a look at everybody. How are we going so far, guys? Good. What's happening? Sweet. So what did you guys dream about last night? No, I'm just kidding. Don't tell me. Anybody have any questions? Anything that they, while we're here, that maybe I can address or something? I did tell Chaya we'd finish around 9:15, so I think she's on the dot. Mid-sentence. Sorry, guys, I'm done. She just said my computer shut down. Ooh, that's a shame. Give me a moment here. Sorry, I'm just texting her here. Any thoughts, questions while we're waiting? Paul and Helen, you are unmuted.
Yes.
No?
Yes, I am now.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I've had in many ways, it's been an unusual day for me because we've decided we're going to be able to come back to shul.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's important. We got a doctor told us that it was okay, so we got permission to do that. And strange thought came to me because I was writing this up, and I thought of the line from that English song, which you may not know. It's a Monty Python song, always look on the bright side of life. Do you know that song?
I'm familiar with it, yes.
Oh, even for an American, that's very good.
Monty Python made it over to our shores.
Right, but the ridiculous thing is, of course, the context of that song, it's sung by a group of men who were being crucified by the Romans, and it's a comedy thing. I mean, if this is funny, but they're singing, always look on the bright side of life, and I feel a bit like that because it's been a good day.
Good. Thank God things are kind of looking up here and looking up in this moment as well, because Chaya is back. So she's changed her name and her identity. She's now
in my location
and her location. One of her children, I think, that's probably one of their Zoom IDs. Anyway, we'll turn it over to you, Chaya.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I missed what you said.
It's so rude. We're 3,000 miles away from each other, and and it's going up to space and coming back down. I can't believe it. It's terrible.
Oh, well, and I know we're at the end, but there was definitely something symbolic, but we don't know what the symbolic meaning of that getting cut off at that moment was in answer to your, your question. But can I take one more minute, even though we're kind of at time? Okay. I just wanted to say that it's very important that we always give a good interpretation. And that's one of the main rules, is that when you are interpreting for yourself and for others, to give it a positive spin. We don't always just have to hang out in the darkness. Like, it's good to interpret for the good. And it is upon us to make positive interpretations when it comes to our dreams. And I hear you that there is a concern that, there might be dangers if I do this or do that. And it's so unclear. I think that's the reason why we all avoid, in our tradition, for sure, Judaism avoids dreaming. It does not, it was very, I've created a whole Jewish pathway and a Jewish approach to dream work. And it's tough because our Jewish material around it is very, it really is very, it warns us a lot about it because it is intense, but I think that the benefits of going into it outweigh the dangers. But you're right, there are certain concerns, and should just do it with with highest intentions, with positive interpretations as much as you can, and it should be safe. Like, be somech, try to pull up a feeling of, I can rely on my unconscious, I can rely on God, I can rely on the divine. It's okay for me to do this. I can trust it. It's okay if maybe I'm going to interpret too much, or that's okay. I think just allow that bringing in that samech of, this is unknown, maybe a little risky, but it's going to be okay. Because it's just you, it's just us. When we encounter this material, it's just a deeper part of ourselves. It's an unknown part of ourselves. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
So I wanted to thank you, Chaya, for taking time out to meet with us and to share a little bit of this journey, because it's the beginning, and the unconscious is so deep, and we can only scratch the surface. And I want to encourage anybody, if you did feel things came up and you felt like there's something you want to explore, so you can reach out to Chaya and find her quite easily online, and engage her services as a therapist and as a soul-centered therapist. And we can do these things over Zoom right now. And if that's something you want to explore, or just have any questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking here, you can also message me, and I'll send you her email, and make sure that we can, you can continue to explore this journey. Kislev, right, is the month of the hidden light. It says that when God created the world, and a light shined for 36 hours. How that works is an interesting question. 36 hours the light was shining, and Adam could see from one end of creation, and from the beginning of creation till the end of creation. He could see everything with that great light, and then God hid that light away. That light was then hidden. And we're taught, the B'nai Sachar says that there are 36 candles that we light, not including the shamish. There's 36 candles that we light over Hanukkah. If we count them all up, 36. So there's 36 hours, and there's 36 candles corresponding. And of course, Kislev, the letters of Kislev are Kaf Samech, which means cover, hidden, Lev, Lamed Vav, 36. Those 36 are hidden inside this month. And so it's we engage in we have to go deep, right? And that's the whole idea, go down under, if you will, to use your terminology, to go deep within, to uncover that which is hidden, and that which is hidden reveals the greatest light. And so I want to bless you, Chaya, to continue to guide and help and heal people, and bring them back to their truest self and to wholeness, and to embracing their brokenness, but to also then to heal from within that. And please, God, your family should be blessed and protected in these challenging times in Israel and in the whole world. And we hope very soon we can come back to and hang out with you in Eretz Yisrael. If you do get the opportunity to get to Eretz Yisrael, and Bram and Fiona can attest to this, go hang out with Chaya and Hillel. They're awesome, and they host these beautiful meals, and they're in doing incredible stuff. And so may you continue to do incredible stuff. And please, God, we should join together in Eretz Yisrael very, very soon.
Amen. Such a Rebbe. Thank you. Bless you. Deeply receive your blessing. Thank you for bringing me in. You guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Happy Hanukkah.
Hag Sameach.
Yeah.